Welcome, everyone, to this Explainer. Today, we're diving into some serious detective work. We are going to embark on a really fascinating investigation into the hidden origins of those everyday cosmetic ingredients that are probably sitting right there on your bathroom counter right now. We'll be doing this by looking through the unique lens of a certified halal internal auditor training program. Our goal is to uncover what actually goes into our skincare and makeup. Trust me, it is quite the journey through global supply chains, complex science, and some incredibly surprising natural sources. So let's just jump right in. I want you to pause for a second and seriously think about this question. When you uncap your favorite lipstick, or when you pump out that luxurious daily moisturizer you love, do you actually know what chemical realities are hiding behind those familiar, comforting products? We trust these items on our skin every single day, right? But the truth is, the cosmetic industry is this massively complex, deeply layered web of global sourcing. On the surface, a common tube of lipstick is so simple. It's elegant, it promises beauty, it gives us confidence, and it just looks like a single, cohesive product. Well, that's largely an illusion. It's a very clever illusion crafted by expert formulating and really good marketing. The reality inside that tiny tube is actually a marvel of modern chemistry and honestly, sometimes biology. If you were to somehow look at the actual production composition of a standard lipstick run, you wouldn't see friendly words like red pigment or moisturizer. Nope. You'd see a list that reads way more like an advanced chemistry textbook. You'd see things like caprylic/capric triglyceride, isohexadane, cyclopentasiloxane, silica, polyethylene, dimethicone, cyclohexasiloxane. I mean, the list literally goes on and on. It's enough to make anyone's head spin. This just highlights the profound confusion we consumers face. How on earth are we supposed to know what we are actually putting on our skin? Especially when you're strictly tracking compliance for things like halal requirements, and the ingredients themselves are completely unpronounceable. Well, that brings us to our investigative decoder ring for today. Enter INCI. This stands for the International Nomenclature of Cosmetic Ingredients. Whenever a halal internal auditor is trying to trace the raw materials of a cosmetic product, they don't look at the flashy marketing name, they look at the INCI name. It is the absolute foundation for figuring out what is truly in your skincare. The power of this INCI system really cannot be overstated. Its primary purpose is transparency. It allows regulators and consumers, especially those who need to trace specific sources or maybe manage severe allergies, to identify exactly what is in a formulation. It provides a globally standardized, universal name for every single ingredient. In fact, using INCI is a mandatory regulatory compliance standard across the EU, the USA, Canada, China, and Japan. So let's take this INCI decoder ring for a spin and investigate a few key suspects in our cosmetic lineup. Let's start with ingredient profile number 1, carmine. If you have ever used a makeup product with a really rich, striking, deep red or crimson shade, think of those classic red lipsticks, bold lip glosses, or really vivid blushes and eyeshadows, there is a very high chance you have encountered this specific colorant. Now let's look at the contrast between what's on the label and reality. On the back of your product, the INCI name elegantly says CI75470 or carmine. But the origin? This beautiful natural red pigment is actually derived from crushed cochineal insects. Yes, you heard that right, crushed bugs. For a halal auditor tracing prohibited sources, this is a massive red flag. The alternatives could be plant-based pigments like beetroot extract or synthetic dyes like Red 40. But unless you know that CI75470 means insects, you would have absolutely no idea. Then there is lanolin. This is renowned in the cosmetic world as basically the ultimate moisturizer and stabilizer. You will find it heavily utilized in skincare products like lip balms, hand creams, and intense healing ointments, as well as in hair care products like really rich conditioners. And to be fair, it is undeniably effective. But again, let's decode it. The INCI name will appear as lanolin or sometimes the synonym Adepslana. So what does that actually mean in plain English? It originates from the sebaceous secretions of sheep's wool. It's essentially the natural grease that sheep produce to protect their coats. While it's fantastic for human skin hydration, knowing that you are applying sheep wool fat to your lips certainly changes your perspective on that pristine white tube of lip balm, doesn't it? Our third ingredient profile is stearic acid. This one is an absolute heavy hitter in cosmetics. It acts as a crucial emulsifier and emulsion stabilizer. Basically, that means it's the magical ingredient that keeps oil and water phases happily mixed together in a formulation without separating. It also acts as a thickener and a glazing agent, making it super common in things like shaving creams, foundations, sunscreens, and even baby lotions. Tracing exactly where stearic acid comes from is where an auditor's job gets incredibly difficult. It's a saturated fatty acid that can occur naturally and beautiful plant-based origins like cocoa butter, but it is equally common for it to be derived entirely from animal fats. By simply reading stearic acid on a label, it is literally impossible to know what the ultimate source of that ingredient is. A product could be formulated with pure botanical extracts and plant-derived acids, or it could rely heavily on animal-derived fats and proteins. Because the end results, the white creams, the clear gels, the solid soaps, they look completely identical. You simply cannot judge a product's origin by its texture, its smell, or its appearance. And the list of hidden origins just goes on and on. For instance, let's take ethanol, often listed as alcohol denat. It's used as a solvent and fragrance carrier in perfumes. In fact, up to 80% of a perfume can be ethanol. But did you know it can be sourced directly from the liquor industry? Or what about glycerin? It's a total staple in soaps and ointments, but it can actually be produced naturally by honeybees. And it's not just the liquids or the creams either. The physical tools we use, like cosmetic brushes and hairbrushes, very commonly utilize animal hair, specifically boar bristles. And that brings us to arguably the most complex compliance issue for a halal internal auditor: pig derivatives. In halal certification, porcine, or pig, derivatives are strictly prohibited. Yet, a single animal is incredibly intertwined with global manufacturing supply chains. It's kind of wild to think about, but from just one animal, the fat or lard can be processed into glycerin that gets used in your lipstick. The skin is a primary source for collagen, which is widely marketed in anti-aging cosmetics. The hair provides cysteine and is used for bristle brushes. The innards produce enzymes, and even the bones can be turned into activated carbon used in water refinement for these very products. It brilliantly illustrates how a single non-halal animal can be fractionated into dozens of seemingly disconnected, hidden ingredients across the industry. Because visual inspection is impossible, and NCI names don't explicitly list the animal of origin, how do we actually ensure a product's integrity? The answer is auditing. ISO 1911 defines it as a systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining evidence and evaluating it objectively. In simpler terms, it is the rigorous, behind-the-scenes detective work that proves a product is exactly what it claims to be. To solve this mystery, an auditor conducts what is called an adequacy audit. They don't just look at the final lipstick in the tube. No, they demand the halal file. They meticulously trace every single raw material by its NCI name all the way back to the original supplier. They assess the company's halal assurance system, or HAS manual, and they verify the standard operating procedures and the records. It is a complete, unbroken paper trail that tracks a chemical back to the very plant or animal it came from. So, after pulling back the curtain on the cosmetic industry today and seeing how sheep secretions, crushed insects, and complex derivatives hide behind elegant chemical names, I want to leave you with this thought. The next time you apply your favorite skincare product, will you read the label a little differently? You now have the INSEE Decoder Ring. I highly encourage you to take this knowledge straight to your bathroom cabinet, turn those bottles around, and discover the true secrets of your own skincare. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy investigating.